Smiles, everyone. Smiles. And prepare yourself for...
Show me the money!
Ladies and gentlemen, the radio broadcast experience designed to keep your wallet in top condition. It's Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Talkin' money. Talkin' money.
More money, more money, more money.
And now entering the studio, your guru for fiscal fitness, Jeff Tarbell.
Right. Are we up? Let me get to all the microphones going here. Sorry about that, Chris. I was out getting a glass of water. He's like, you want to start talking or not? Let's go here. Can you talk in that one, Janet? Chris, turn on 3 for me, too, if you would. It's on, okay. Go ahead, Janet. Give it a shot there. Is your little button over there?
Good morning, Sacramento.
There you go. We'll get it together. Wasn't paying it close. I don't know what I was doing. Yeah, you're right. It is 9 o'clock. I'm not used to being in the studio. It throws me off. You know how that goes. Anyway, how you doing? Welcome. This is Talkin' Money. Jeff Tarbell in the studio this morning. John Fotorero back in Pennsylvania, I believe, somewhere. So we brought in a rookie. So Chris and I will do the same thing to all rookies. We'll both leave the studio here in 2 minutes, and you got the hour. You're on your own, Janet.
Thanks a lot.
That's what you were doing to me.
Hey, Chris, if I'm not here, you can start talking at any time.
Yeah, no problem.
And did you pay for those headphones, or did those come free?
I might have stolen from a coworker.
Okay. Was he a rap star when you stole them? Those are cool looking. Janet Rolfson has joined us this morning from Comstock Mortgage out in the Roseville location. Thanks for coming down.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Actually, you're closer than I am, so it was
I am.
It was you should thank me for coming down. I usually try to work from home a little bit on the Saturday.
I could have come to your house.
That's all right. It's all right. So we start every show the same way. We always let the guy behind the glass there. We give him a couple seconds to talk because he doesn't talk much during the week. So he gets all pent up and angry, and he puts on these white Dr. Dre headphones and lets it rip. So what soccer story is on your mind today?
I know it shouldn't be the thoughts of Christopher Lott. It should be like our soccer minute with.
So the soccer minute with Chris.
Yeah. Went to the game last night. Absolutely amazing. 4-3 win for the Republic. And they've done an amazing job with that field. It looks like it's been there forever. It looks like it's just part of Cal Expo.
Didn't you kind of expect the grass to kind of come rolling up when the guy makes a turn on? It's like it's new sod, right? I mean,
yeah, at some point. But, I mean, it literally looks like it's been there for 10 years. Like, how come we haven't seen this before? But I think it's really cool. They did soccer last night. They're doing rugby today. They're doing soccer on Thursday. So it should be a fun new venue for things to do in Sacramento.
So how was the atmosphere there when you had basically half or 40% of the people you had in the previous games, right?
Atmosphere was great. I think we were saying this before. It was good about Hughes Stadium was that you got 20,000 people, but you're still like 20 yards away from the field.
Yeah.
So that was a little tough. Everybody's right on top of the field. Great view, and looks like we're gonna have a fun time for the rest of the season.
Good. They keep doing. They're doing better than the Giants are right now. So at least they're winning. So hey, I'll see. Is our text machine working today, Chris, or no? Well, we'll try to pull it up there. 339-1140 if you want to jump in. Oh yeah. There you go. I actually see the text. We can try it. 44-1140 if you want to text us, or you can send your typical smoke signals, and we'll keep an eye out for that too. We're gonna do a number of things this morning. I got some. My usual, BS that I'll get to in the first segment. And then we are gonna actually do some real mortgage stuff because they're actually, for the first time in a long time, there's been some new things coming out in the mortgage world, and we'll talk about those because I think it will bring in some new buyers and some new people, and that's the stated goal. I don't know what they're going to buy, but at least they can buy, maybe. So we'll cover that, and we got a couple quiz questions. Janet's going to read off some quiz questions today. We've got some Roundtable Pizza, some Sacramento Rivercats baseball, and I have one more book left from last week's guest. And if you didn't catch last week's show, you can find it back on the Talkin' Money page of our Facebook page. Wes Moss was on the air with us last week. You can retire sooner than you think. The 5 money secrets of the happiest retirees. I think what happened is that I had some previous books that got sent out to some people, so this one's still in my hands. So I still have one book left from last week, so we will give that away today too. If you caught our guest last week and you want, and this is a very easy read book, and it's I think you'll like it. It's easy to read. It's got some good ideas. You don't have to go crazy with things. I don't drive. I don't come down here very often anymore. I usually will John will be here and I'll broadcast from my house because it saves me about an hour of driving. But now as you're coming in now, you can tell you're in a good area here by the station because there's a big flashing sign that says bait vehicle on duty. So I'm not sure. If you're putting a bait vehicle out, are you supposed to tell people, or that's the purpose of the bait vehicle? I'm not sure which, but so anyway, my car is not the bait vehicle. If you're looking for one, grab the white one. It's you can steal it with impunity because I don't have that little cool kill switch thing on it, but I don't know what the bait vehicle in session is. New to me. I haven't seen that.
Is it a nice car or not a nice car?
Well, they don't tell you. That's the problem. See, they don't tell you which one's the bait vehicle. It's just a sign. You have to pick it out. And I guess if you pick wrong, you go to jail. So anyway. I hadn't seen the bait vehicle sign. That's fun. Good times, good things in the Citrus Heights areas. You're coming through to Madison Avenue. I had some family in town last night. My wife is Dutch, or half Dutch, and so some of her relatives were in from Holland last night visiting. And this is a thing that just irritates the crap out of me. These people have been here for about 2 weeks in the United States. They have seen more stuff in the United States than I have, and I'm 48 years old, and I live here. Oh, yeah, we went through, we did a cruise through the Bahamas, and we came over to L.A., and then we went to Zion Park, and now we're going to do this and that. I'm like, damn, I haven't even seen the Grand Canyon.
It's funny that you're saying that. My stepdaughter and her husband are here from Stockholm for 3 weeks, and they have seen it, done it, and
here's the other thing that it just drives me nuts is so so it's my wife's cousin, I guess. He's Dutch. And he's talking English like you and I are talking English, probably better than I. And I'm like, how often do you speak English? He's like, oh, I don't.
Never.
Yeah, I just kind of studied a little bit. And I'm like, and he's getting, the kind of the slang and the influence. And so I made him go through a list of words that I could actually, all the good ones, because you don't want to really, I'm not that interested in what's going on in Holland. I want to know all the good the curse words, all the good stuff I can say. Probably could say them on I'm not sure, are FCC violations in Dutch too? Oh, they are. Dang it. So there's a Dutch FCC guy listening. I would be hauled off. But anyway, I got some good Dutch slang. So Goedemorgen is good morning. So I can stick with that one. We'll get going here. So anyway, it was fun to see them, and it was just you're like, yeah, he spent about a month researching all the cool places to go, and I think he drove like 3,000 miles in 3 days and something. I'm like,
that's crazy.
I'm lazy, I guess.
Hur du idag is how you say how are you today in Swedish.
Well, there you go. See. There you go. That's it. We got our show covered. Now, Chris, I said we have a text line and we don't?
We don't.
You guys don't pay on the weekends or what?
Apparently not.
Are we renting this by the minute on the show? Some fun things this week that were coming out. I did see this. I carried around this one. This is almost unbelievable to me. So have you heard of Park City, a little ski resort in Utah?
Heard of it. Going in February.
You might want to go a little quicker. So it turns out that in 2011, the Park City Mountain Resort forgot to renew their lease.
Oh, my gosh.
On 3,000 acres of terrain that they ski on.
Wow.
So if I'm reading this correctly, and there's a huge chance that I'm not reading because there's not a lot of pictures. I'm better with pictures. It sounds to me like the neighbor next door, which is the Canyons, which is owned by Vail.
That's where we're going, actually, is the Canyons.
So the Canyons picked up the lease.
Wow.
And nobody knew. So a judge this week ruled that Park City's basically screwed up.
Wow. That'll make a lot of pass holders very upset. A lot of skiers who have planned a vacation there.
Well, I mean, Park City's still going to run their resort, it says, but it's up in the air. Now, of course, they own their facilities, the buildings and those things too, but 3,000 acres of their terrain, which would be a lot of it, if not most of it, may now be owned by the people who own the Canyons or the Vail Group.
Wow.
So
that's expanded their mountain.
If you're skiing down Park City and someone yanks your tag because you don't have a Vail to pass on, be aware. But I don't know whose job that was, but I'm guessing that person may not be employed currently.
Probably not. Wow.
If you forget to sign the lease on, if you're a ski hill and you forgot to sign the ski hill lease, maybe not the best week.
It's actually surprising that's an annual requirement.
I don't know that it's annual. I think they probably do like on a 10-year. It's probably why. If it was annual, you'd remember. But it's like, is this the 10-year mark or not? Or you could pick up the phone and call somebody.
Absolutely. Wow.
How's my lease doing on my entire business? You might want to renew that this week. So That was not so good. I did see. I know that Janet, you keep millions of dollars of your money offshore. I've got most of my billions back in the United States now, but I did notice this week that so get this: if the IRS, 1, 2, 3, there's 10 offshore firms that are now cooperating with the IRS to notify them of American citizens with money in their account. If you don't by August 4th, so where that's
month
a
and a
month,
half. Yeah.
month and a half. If you don't come clean with the IRS, their penalty goes up from 27.5%. So if you come clean now, you got to forfeit almost more than a quarter of your money. That's a healthy penalty. If you don't, and they find you after the 4th, it goes up to 50%.
Wow. That's worth coughing up the
That's
admission.
That's or just not becoming. I'm just going to renounce.
Or move it to Switzerland.
I'm going to renounce my citizenship. Well, Switzerland, UBS AG is Credit Suisse AG. These are Swiss banks, for the most part, that are going to have to come clean. Hong Kong. So, I'm going to have to get all 58 cents of my money back before I only have 25 cents left. But I do have the defense for you. If this happens to you, you can use the IRS defense, which is you must have sent it to me in an email and I lost the email.
Exactly.
And when they say to you, that's not a good excuse, you can say, oh, sure it is, because the IRS chief this week said they lost all the emails about the Tea Party group and everything else, too. So it must happen because it happens to you guys. So if you sent me an email about my penalty, I must have lost it. It's probably with yours.
Exactly.
So
you're off the hook, Jeff.
Yeah, I've created my own defense from the IRS. So that is quite the cluster down there on all fronts.
That's huge.
That's
a big one.
With them. So anyway, you can just tell them that Jeff said, some guy on the radio said I could use my lost email defense and I would be just fine. So see how that goes for you too, as they're hauling off 50% of your funds there. Oh, Chris, I had a quiz question for you, Chris, because we're getting up near the NFL draft, right? When is the draft?
NFL or
NFL.
It just happened.
Okay. So I don't want to use this as a regular quiz question because this one was only for you. So, Chris, the quarterback drafted in the top 5 with the fewest career starts, basically the biggest bust ever.
That was, I can't think of his name. Raiders. No? Oh, the biggest bust? Ryan Leaf?
Fewest record, 31-19. Fewest number of starts. And you're thinking, Ryan Leaf's on the list, but he's about number 8. Mr. Vince Young.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Vince Young from Texas. Biggest draft bust ever.
I wouldn't say that. He made it to the playoffs his first year. So.
I guess they're just going by number of starts. So there you go. That's your impromptu quiz question because I like to throw things against you you're not prepared for. Did you see this week? I'm gonna save this because I'm gonna use this with our quiz question here. Did you see this week that Google picked up? So one of the things that John and I always remiss about here on the show is the incredible amounts of money, billions of dollars people will pay for basically like a phone app or some kind of a company that doesn't make any money. And it's ridiculous. But Google this week actually did something that I say, this is going to be huge. I mean, I think it's going to be huge. They paid just under $500 million, which,
not an insignificant chunk of change.
No, if you and I owned it, 250 a piece, we probably get by. We
might get
we
by.
wouldn't be able to put it in the Swiss account anymore, but we'd have to, we'd make it work. They bought Skybox Imaging. Have you ever heard of Skybox Imaging? I'll show you what it looks. The unit looks like a air conditioning unit. See that thing right there?
Oh, it does.
Doesn't it? It looks like.
What does it do?
It looks like they bought like an HVAC system for their house. Oh, it doesn't do much. It just flies around. They're going to have 24 of them in the sky in the next 3 years. Skybox will be able to take full images of the Earth twice a day at a resolution that until last week was illegal to sell commercially.
Wow.
So Google Earth coming forth in 2016, they'll have the first ones in the air. Skybox Imaging puts satellites into orbit 185 miles above Earth on the tip of some Russian missiles. So they shoot them up there. And you will now be able to go almost in live time. So think about it. They're going to try to get it so you can get 3 times a day. But in very close proximity, you'll be able to see the detail of a car, what kind of car it is on the road. Or if your daughter says, oh, I'm at home, and you go on Google Earth and say, the hell you are. You're at your boyfriend's house. I just saw you on Google Earth. And by the way, put that cigarette down. That kind of. So that's going to be, Google's going to own that. They own it now. Wow. And that will be in the sky in the next couple of years. So think about that. So you think about Google, if you look at Google Earth now or some of those places, you can kind of get down to a resolution that you can see like the outline of your house. Maybe you can see a car in the driveway. But that picture may have been. If you ever look at him, you're like, "What is that from?" My grass is like all dead. Well, that was from last summer, or whenever they took the picture. So now it'll be 2 to 3 times a day.
Wow.
Updated.
They'll be able to see the spider webs in my windows.
They will. But Janet, could you please clean the windows a little bit? It's so. Anyway, that's going to be pretty. I think that's going to be a big change, a big changer.
A little scary, actually.
Yeah, if you're, I don't know to what level. If you're nude sunbathing in the backyard, does this mean we've got a whole new? I mean, I don't know to what level, but if you can see the type of a car at that level, why?
Well, think about even when we look for appraisals. If we just want to look at a house, you can see the houses pretty clearly.
Mm-hmm. But you're seeing something that was
a couple of years ago, or a year
or
ago.
even maybe 6 months ago.
Right.
Now you're going to see something that was like 9 this morning. So, I don't know. But it's coming. And they got, everybody would say, a steal on it. They paid 1/38 the price of what the WhatsApp, the app that someone,
So $500 million. Wow.
$500 million. That's a reasonable investment, I think. So, that is our first quiz, our first break of the morning. We're going to get into, I got a couple of little fun things, too. We're going to get into some real estate, and I'm going to talk a little bit about all the new changes and things that we're starting to see, some actual real creativity. Now, last time we got creative, we got in trouble. Everybody always, whenever I talk about, there's some new things coming out, they're like, here we go again. And I don't think you're going to see a repeat.
I don't think so. We went backwards, and we've finally gained momentum.
We went way
backwards.
Way backwards. So we'll talk about some of those things as well. We do have a quiz question for you this morning. Got a couple of them. Why don't you start with your lady who passed away?
Stephanie Kvolak of Delaware. She was 90 years old, and Stephanie passed away yesterday. In 1965, Stephanie, I would say a woman before her time,
yes,
invented something so revolutionary and life-changing to all of us and life-saving. What did Stephanie invent?
Yeah, and then they put her in the Hall of Fame for her industry, so it's pretty amazing. And I've actually got this. I'm going to read this to you. I got this chart of major inventions, and I plugged her in on there too. So 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You cannot text us because they don't pay on the weekends for the text machine. And phone lines are open, so we'll get those in. So what did Stephanie? Is that right?
Stephanie Kvolak.
Kvolak, Kwolek, something like that. 90 years old. What did she invent? 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Some Roundtable Pizza, some River Cats baseball tickets, whatever you want. Janet Rolfson, Jeff Tarbell. We're going to be right back, Jack.
Talkin' money.
Well, alrighty then. We're back to Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Right. How you doing?
It's a great day to be alive.
Yeah. If you don't get caught in the bait car.
Exactly.
It all depends on how your day goes. We did have a quiz question before the break. Our number here in the studio, if you want to jump in this morning, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can give us a call. We're going to get into a little bit of real estate and mortgage stuff. That's what Janet does all the time, and that's what I pretend to do when I'm awake. But our quiz question was, and I forgot the lady's name now.
Stephanie Kvolak.
Stephanie Kvolak. She was 90 years old?
90 years old.
1965, she invented something, and I'll give you some,
So she was 55 years old.
At the time?
Well, that was 35.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm not good with numbers. I don't have that many fingers.
I'm a number nut. She invented it in 65, and she was 90 years old and passed away. So
who did she work for when she did it?
Can I tell that?
Yeah.
She worked for DuPont.
So she worked for so she made a really killer paint scheme for Jeff Gordon's race car, Sonoma weekend, right? So she worked for DuPont. So she created something that was life-saving, like a heart valve or something. So what did she? We did get a winner. So you can give it away. What did she make?
She invented Kevlar.
Kevlar fabric.
Good for her. A woman totally ahead of her time. I'm sure she. Well, you said she's in the Hall of Fame, so she definitely got recognized for her invention.
They put her in the I don't know why you have to have a female chemist and a male chemist acknowledgement. You're either a chemist or you're not. But anyway, they put her in the Female Chemist Hall of Fame, and she kind of discovered it, like a lot of things, working on something else by accident. And what they discovered was this fabric, you could actually weave it, and it would act like fabric, and yet it had this incredible capability of of strength, and now I think every cop in the world wears Kevlar probably every
Their
day.
vests, right?
Yeah.
And I was wrong. She was 65 when she invented that, not 55. She was 65 years old when she invented that. And good for her that back in 1965, she was still working at age 65.
Yeah, I guess
that's pretty fabulous.
So I applauded her on this. This is an interesting chart, and of course they're always gonna. If you're always looking back, you always say, well, everything was cool, it was in the past. But so this is what they call a century and a half of inventions, and what they're looking at is inventions that actually move the needle. I mean, something that actually pushed the economy up. I mean, everybody had to have it. So, I mean, the economy actually moved, and they were looking at an average growth rate of about a 2% year over year for more than 100 years, because there was just new stuff coming out. And they're looking forward, and instead of this thing going up the mountain, it just kind of goes. They're looking forward and saying, we don't see these type of inventions. So you put Kevlar at 1965. It was not on the list, but I plotted it in there. But you go back to the graph starts at 1876, and the first item on their list in 1876 was the telephone, followed by the telegraph and the electric light bulb. Electric power didn't come out until 1882. The aspirin came out in 1899. So
Wow.
These are things that actually they contribute. They say actually made the economy. Were big inventions and moved the economy. The Model T in 08, the television in 27, penicillin in 28. The jet engine in the 30s, the nuclear reactor in the 40s, the microwave oven in the 46s, or microwave, the laser in 58. What year do you think email came out? Maybe you want to take a guess when email?
I would guess 1990.
Well, the internet came out in 89. That was when Al Gore finally got around to releasing the internet for us. Email started in 71.
Really?
Yeah, as an internal system. The next thing after the internet, from 1989, the next invention that they put on here was the iPad tablet, 2010.
Really?
Yeah. And their projection is that you won't see those kind of inventions anymore. They don't show. I would say what they don't have on here is the PC.
What about cell phone? That wasn't on the list.
No, they didn't have it on the list. So maybe they just finally got tired of making things up. But anyway, they project that future inventions will not push the needle as much as the past did. So I would certainly say the telephone, power, and the car, and aspirin, a couple big ones.
Penicillin's up there too.
Penicillin's up there too, right around the wartime. I can't figure that out. So anyway, there you go. We have nothing to look forward to anymore other than the little heart bands things.
All right, and math majors here. Stephanie was 40 when she invented Kevlar. Not 65. She was 40 years old when she did it. So, but good for her.
We did it back. Either
and good
way.
for her contribution to DuPont.
What I don't know, and we got a couple people on hold, so I'll get you, I promise. What I don't know, and what it didn't say in the article, is I'm looking here at the phone screen, is whether she was compensated for her invention beyond her
regular pay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
And so, and that came up one time before. Oh, I know, it was the Post-it note. The guy it was a gentleman who was working on the Post-it note, and he was trying to come up with a glue for something else, and he kept coming up with this glue that just totally wouldn't stick to anything. And then they realized, oh, perfect, we don't want it to stick, But he defaulted into the Post-it note and he worked for 3M, I think it was. They were trying to make tape or glue or something like that, and he was a miserable failure at his job, other than he made $1 billion in Post-it notes.
I'd like to be a miserable failure. My job to make $1 billion.
I am a miserable failure at my job, and I am not making $1 million. So. Let's get to Stephen in Folsom. Steve's been patiently holding. Steve, welcome to Talkin' Money. How you doing?
Very good. Happy morning to the both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's happening, Steve?
Jeff, we've talked a couple times about sitting on my house, and I'm not in a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac loan, and there's just no love for us out there. A couple years ago, and you gave me some great advice, and I had neighbors around me just flopping, don't make any payments, and they'll make a deal with you, and blah blah blah. They ended up getting booted out of their houses and moving on. We stuck around. We've made our payments consistently for 10 years. And I see the market coming back, but I guess my question is, we've started making some principal payments. We're like at 380. One around the Elk Corner sold at 422. So I've got maybe, let's just say 45, 50 equity in the darn thing, and I'm going, is there any love out there because I'm at a 6.35 10-year ARM. The ARM actually is out the door this coming December. Is there any love out there for people that don't have Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac loans? Or I mean, we tried for 2 years to get that loan modification, never got it through the bank, so kind of just gave up and been just hammering away at work. But now that I'm just asking them, is there any love out there for us?
Yeah, you can. So you currently owe $380. You said.
380, but that's not going to get us our 20%. You know.
Yeah, but you don't need 20%. So what's the house worth? You think?
With the pool, let's just say on a high note, 425, 430, and we're about 380 right now.
Okay,
What's your rate, Steve?
6 3/8. He said. So you're about a 90% loan to value. We're going to cover this today too, Steve. But you can certainly look at. We have a piggyback option where you could do an 80% first, and the 9% could be a small second. There's no PMI. The rates on both of them are going to be much lower than you are now. They're going to be fully amortized. I mean, you don't need any kind of a government program. You just need to come down and give us a call. I mean, that's what's that?
That's what Comstock can take care of that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can go. You can go on to my site jefftarbell.com or give us a call. But you can. That's a program. Steve, I'm going to put Steve on hold. Chris will give him out some River Cats or some pizza, whatever he wants there. That's one of the things we're gonna cover. In fact, what we'll do, because I want to do that uninterrupted, is I want to take a break here because it's, believe it or not, we're already
Wow,
at 9:30.
that went quick.
See,
that went quick.
You BS your way through another segment, and the next thing you know, it's
I want to give a shout out to Rachel and Michelle who are listening to us this morning.
yeah. Where are they at?
They're in Dodge Lane, Carmichael, California.
There you go. So we have another quiz question for you. And when I come back, I promise we'll do straight all mortgage and all the new little fun things that we're doing, and we'll talk about one of Steve's questions there as well. So our number here in the studio, 339-1140 or 800-920-1140. And our quiz question number 2, which you can have some Round Table Pizza or some River Cats baseball, your choice, is what? Go ahead. Did I give it to you?
The second question?
Yeah.
Okay. This company unveiled a prototype electric vehicle this week.
Huge.
Giant. What company was it?
Yeah, huge. It was, of course, I participate in that world a little bit, but I have not seen that kind of enthusiasm for something maybe since the Tesla came out. The car.
Did you see the new? I just saw it this week. I was driving down Galleria Boulevard, and there's about 8 Tesla hookups right by Pier 1.
Oh no. Yeah.
Those came out of nowhere, and they're over at the Folsom outlets. I mean, when you buy a Tesla, they give you like a CD showing all the hookup locations.
Well, if you look in a friend of mine has one, and if you've never been in one, it's an incredible ride. And I'll talk about it more when we come back. But when you're in the car in the dash, there's a computer that looks kind of like that, about that screen, a big screen, and you can look at the internet, and you can do all kinds of things. But you can program where's the next charging station, and it tells you how fast you're going, and it's quite a ride. That thing will go from 0 to 60 like in a blink of an eye, and it's so weird when there's no noise. I mean, it's just like it's kind of like being on a roller coaster, sort of. It's just all electric, and you just moving. They're fun, but it wasn't Tesla. I'll give you the quotes. So they're another manufacturer of vehicles came out this week with a prototype. It's a vehicle. Sort of.
It is a vehicle.
Yeah. So who was it? 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. We're going to take a couple winners on that. Take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Jenna Rolfson, Jeff Tarbell. This is Talkin' Money. Hold on. Give me just a minute, and I'll be back. I promise. I might even say something smart, but don't hold your breath on that one.
Talkin' Money.
And we're back to Talkin' Money. And here's Jeff Tarbell.
Yeah. Final segment of the day. Thanks for joining us. I didn't give away my... hey, Chris, if you want to take... there's a caller that wants this last book of not mine, but last book I have from Wes Moss. You can retire sooner than you think. The 5 Money Secrets of Happiest Retirees. If you want me to, if you want that book, I will send. I have 1 copy. You got to give Chris a call and give him some compelling reason why he should take your name and address, and I should send you the book, and I will do that if you want it. So we'll leave that out there at 339-1140 if you want the book from last week's guest. Our quiz question before the break: we had somebody came out with something that was electric.
A prototype electric vehicle this week. What company was it?
And it wasn't Tesla.
It was not Tesla.
Chris, did we get a winner? Everybody knew who was it? So who came out?
So the company that unveiled the prototype electric vehicle this week was not your typical automobile company, but it was Harley Davidson. And my friend Nancy Meister and her husband, Steve Meister, are listening into the show from Atlanta, Georgia this morning. And Nancy texted me, and her husband did guess Harley Davidson.
Did he?
So
that thing is going to be. It's so funny that they came out this week because I was out riding my bike last weekend, and I thought, there's, and I am conflicted on the global warming thing, but regardless. We have to. I felt a little guilty. I'll just kind of run around burning gas. I thought someone's going to have to come out with just a really trick electric motorcycle, something you can actually ride for a while.
Uh-huh.
That would be it. That prototype they show is pretty cool. And if someone was asking me, I watched the video on it. Does it make any noise? Do they make it sound like a Harley? They do not make it sound like a Harley. They make it sound, in my opinion, like a turbine jet engine.
that's what it says in that article. It sounds like a jet engine.
It does. Now I don't know whether that's obviously. An electric vehicle doesn't make any noise, so it's got to be a broadcast sound. I mean, it's making that sound, so it's basically like
a created sound.
Yeah, a speaker with the sounds. I don't know if if you can change the sound and make it sound like a pack of dogs or something. We could do all kinds of crazy things. But anyway,
the one thing I didn't catch, does it say how far it can go on a single charge? It says not that far, but it didn't define the distance.
It didn't. I think they're just trying to see if they can generate enough interest. They certainly have. I mean, it's made quite the buzz this week. So anyway. We'll cover that some more as they get farther along. Everybody else is right behind them. You can be sure that Honda, Yamaha, and everybody else will want to do one too. We had a question before the break there. I think it was Steve
from Folsom
was asking about, geez, there's no program for me because he's not upside down anymore, but he doesn't have 20% equity, and this is another one of those those misnomers about either buying a home or refinancing one that you have to have 20% down, and all these sort of issues, and you really don't. Now, obviously, you can go with an FHA type of a program and pay PMI mortgage insurance. That's been a little bit of a problem. Well, that's the only solution in some cases, and so be it. You got to pay PMI. In the FHA world, you can't get rid of it. That's been the downside to it.
Right. And
so the only way you can get rid of PMI is to refinance down the road. What Jen and I were talking about before the show this morning is the lack of knowledge on these piggybacks, these 80-10-10s. These, you can even, you make it even go higher, but the most common one is an 80% first and a 10% second, or in Steve's case, an 80% first and a 9% second. Something that breaks the loans apart, so the first mortgage doesn't have to have PMI.
Right. And PMI, if you have to pay it, ends up just being money down the drain on a monthly basis. So if you can do an 80% first mortgage in the very low fours, depending upon your credit score, a 10% second, which is just over 5%, and avoid PMI. And Steve, we can take your 6 3/8 mortgage and get it down to a much more palatable rate than you're paying. And plus, you're paying interest only right now, it sounds like.
Right.
And we can get you paying principal and interest.
Thing paid off.
And get the thing paid off.
Yeah.
Exactly. And feel better about the fact that you're living in a great home in Folsom, which is a great community.
Yeah, I think the thing that people forget about the piggyback second, and for a long while, a few years, there wasn't anybody doing a piggyback second. They just couldn't find a second.
Including us.
Yeah. So it was something that did go away, and that's why people are not that familiar with it, because it's coming back around. But it does give you an opportunity, if you've got a small second out there for 20, 30, 40, 50 grand, to whittle at that thing a little faster, get rid of it. And then you're left with this nice low rate first mortgage, and your payment comes down because it gives you something to target. And I think where we use them a lot, and we use those in conjunction with like a bridge loan. So somebody who hasn't sold their house yet needs to buy something else. You can bridge, you can borrow some money on a second against your existing house. But if you have this first and second combination on your house, maybe you get down the road, you got something else going to be sold or paid off, or you're going to get a bonus, or you're commissioned, and your commission comes in waves. Well, you can knock these things down and get rid of the second,
pretty quickly. In a couple, 2-3 years.
Yeah, so it is a nice option, but it's a way to go, and certainly in Steve's case, it's an obvious option. But even in the purchase world, it's a reasonable option. Some other things that were coming out this week. What else is on your list that we wanted to talk about?
One of the other ones we want to talk about IRS liens and divorce.
Oh yeah.
For those of you who are out there still cohabitating, one's in one bedroom, one's in the other bedroom, you are married.
Yeah.
Even though you don't think you're married, you are married. Even if you file separate tax returns, you're still married.
Just because you're not talking to him, not having sex with him, and don't even sit in the same and have breakfast with him, if you're not divorced,
you're married.
You're married. And the reason this comes up, and I know I've covered this before many a times, but it keeps coming up, and it comes up in a number of aspects. One comes up that that if you're going to do the FHA, or if you're a veteran, you're going to do a VA transaction, we're mandated to look at the credit of your spouse, even if it's a non-borrowing spouse, and any debts that person may have are going to be attributed to you, with the only exception maybe being some sort of child support that was from something before you were married. That can usually be pulled apart. But beyond that, those obligations you now have to qualify for without using the benefit of your spouse's income if the spouse isn't going on there. The one that came up this week was the IRS liens.
Right.
And
that was actually a good story.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stories, but there's in the case that I had, the liens were incurred during the marriage, even though they were technically the spouse's liens. But in California, as a community property state, they become yours. So an IRS lien that is on you or your spouse's credit report during your marriage is attributed to both of you. And so generally, an IRS, and I'm talking about a lien. I mean, they've actually gone to the. It's old.
Give an example of why the lien was placed on, Jeff, so listeners can.
In this case, it was just a tax lien. They filed a return. They didn't have the money to make the taxes, so the IRS filed a lien. And
they're making payments to the IRS.
Well, in this case, they were not.
Okay.
So in the instance, in my case, the one I was dealing with, they knew it existed. They had paid other liens off. It was kind of the drag on. They hadn't got to it yet. So in this case, it would take precedence over a mortgage. You have to get rid of it. You have to get rid of the lien. Or, in the other case we talked about in our meeting on Friday, the individual had worked out an agreement with the IRS, and they said, I'm going to pay you $50 a month. Even though it was a big number. I mean, in the one case we talked about, it was a huge number.
And they were demonstrating payments.
For a year. So this is the two differences. IRS lien that's sitting there, you have not addressed the issue with anybody. You have not started making payments on it yet. That's going to be a holdup for you. The title company probably can't issue clear title because it could be a lien ahead of a mortgage. We don't know what you're going to do with it. We don't know what the IRS is going to do to you. The other example is, I always say, pull your head out of the sand. That's a nice word for.
Make that $50 payment.
Call the IRS. I understand I owe you the money. This is what I can do. Come up with an agreement. Start making them payments. And once the lending community sees that you have a agreement in place and you're living up to that agreement, no matter how minuscule it might be or no matter how huge it might be, if there's a history of 12 months of doing it, you don't have to pay that thing off. And the IRS will work with you. You may say, and I may joke with them here about coming after you for half of your Swiss bank accounts, and they lose emails and stuff. The local IRS office on Watt Avenue, for those of us here in town, people in our office will tell you they are extremely friendly. And you come in there, they will, how can I help you? What do we need to do? I think that at least locally, they become a customer service department. I mean, they really are helpful. So don't stick your head in the sand. I mean, I know it's just so hard. You hear all these commercials about we can solve your debts for 50 cents on the dollar. These are law firms, may be true or may not, but do something.
I mean, if you have an IRS lien that you haven't made a single payment, go take a cash advance on a credit card, pay it off, and at least satisfy the lien. Then we can proceed with doing a refinance for you.
You just got to qualify for the credit card,
right?
But at least you can do something. So, and the same goes. The divorce is a huge issue, and it's such an emotional issue for people, and a lot of times there's a big financial component to it. Meaning either A, if I leave him, I lose medical benefits. I get that. That's real scary. If he's gonna leave me, or I'm gonna pick up I'm the wage earner, and my husband's not doing anything. If I leave him, I'm probably gonna have to pay spousal support or something else. I don't want to do that. I get it.
Move on.
The problem is that it gets ignored until you want to do something, in the mortgage world, and then all of a sudden, community property state, we got to have that person sign a deed, if nothing else, quitclaim deed off. Well, I don't want to go ask him for that. He's going to know I'm buying a house where I live, or vice versa. I don't want her to know where I'm going to live. Well, guess what?
They're going to find out. If you've got kids in common, they're going to come pick up your kid at the house when it's their day, their weekend.
If you don't, the law says they're entitled to half. So these are things that that have to be worked out. I don't support or finance any divorce law firms. It's just an issue that every time it comes up, I'm like, oh God, here we go again. Mm-hmm. This has been dry, and they're never just like we just got separated last month. It's always like
They're never simple.
7 years ago, I decided that I've had enough of him and I'm going to do this, and it hasn't been resolved. So, please address those issues if you can.
The other program that we wanted to talk about, Jeff, in the last couple minutes that we've got is the Flex program. And this is actually a truly fabulous product. We can do a loan for somebody who's 1 day out of short sale or foreclosure and 6 months out of bankruptcy. And the rate is a little bit higher, but once you hit that 2-year mark of your short sale or foreclosure, you can refinance into a conventional product. I just booked one 3 weeks ago for a family who bought a house up in El Dorado Hills. They're so happy. They got the house that they wanted, and in December, they'll hit their 2-year mark, and we can refinance them into a more palatable rate.
Yeah.
But it still isn't cumbersome in the meantime.
No, I know it is. That's when I talk about some of the flexibility and creativity coming back, because I think that a lot of parts, these some of the investors that buy these loans from us and they're banks, but they're looking around saying, where can we get some sort of short-term return? And someone who's going to come in with 20 or 25% down isn't going to walk away from that house.
Absolutely
and by the way,
not.
we're still making sure they may have had an issue in the past related to a bankruptcy or foreclosure, but you can make damn sure we've checked their income. I mean, these are good borrowers who had an issue in the past.
They can have mortgage rates on that subject property,
Yeah,
but everything else has to be clean.
Yeah.
So it's still, we still put them through the same underwriting that we do John Q. Public.
I call it it's a good Band-Aid loan. It's a loan that you say, hey, look, I need a house, or I have identified that house, and I got to live in this school district, and I cannot wait till December. Sure as hell can't wait till a year from December.
Because that house won't be available.
The house won't be available, or if it is, it'll be $50,000 more. I got to get it now, and this is a loan. I've got some money to put down. This is a loan I need now, and I can always get out of the loan into something more palatable, like you said, down the line.
There's no prepayment penalty on the Flex program, and keep it in place until you hit your mark, and then refinance.
Yeah, for those of you that follow me on Facebook, I call it the Why Wait program, the same thing on the program there. The last one I want to touch on, but we still have, how are we doing on time, Chris? I want to get a read from you there. Okay, so we have about 3.5 minutes. Is the plethora of down payment assistance programs that are out now, and when people tell me they don't have, particularly younger first-time buyers, but not necessarily, they don't have money for down payment, I look at them and say, do you have income that you can qualify and just make, do you have decent credit and you have income you can qualify for the payment? Because getting funding right now, and what we're starting to get good at is layering these things together. So, a loan that maybe only needs 3 or 3.5% down, or maybe even 5% down, and layering a grant that gives you a couple 3%, and then a down payment second that gives you a couple 3%. So next thing you know, you add these things together. Maybe the seller pays half the title and escrow. Maybe that's all they do. And you put these things together, and you're looking at a move-in for a house of $1,500, $1,000 or $1,500. That's usually the minimum. You have to have some money into the deal, but I would say $1,000 is a minimum. $1,500 is probably more common. But to get into a house, $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 house for $1,500,
it's crazy.
Which can be a gift, is pretty remarkable. We're not talking about funky 9% rates. We're talking about plain Jane vanilla 30-year fixed rate loans that you're moving into your first house. A grant is money that doesn't even have to be paid back.
It's FREE
Yeah.
money. And
the down payment assistance is a program you don't have to pay a monthly payment on. You just pay it back when the property sells or you refinance. So you're getting these monies that you're not even making payments on. In some cases, you're not even paying back. It is phenomenal.
There are options out there for buyers who really want it, and we can help them.
And the frustrating part is that I think that a lot of the realtor community hasn't grasped the understanding of them yet, and that's not their job. They don't have to, but maybe there's some reluctance to we don't necessarily want to work with somebody who's going to get a grant or a down payment program, or we don't want to accept that offer.
Why not?
It's money.
Absolutely.
And in some cases,
and they're going to close the sale. So
yeah. So if you're interested in some of those things, you can check us out. You can find Janet on the Comstock Mortgage website, or do you have your own site too?
I do, but Janet Roloff's homeloans.com.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Or 367-7110.
Yep. So we're both
Comstock Mortgage in Roseville.
Both in the same office.
Yep. We see each other all day long.
That's right. She comes by, throws stuff at my window, and says, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." That music means we got to wrap it up. I'll be back here live again next Saturday too. And we'll do a little bit mortgage talk next week. One of our loan officers at our company does a lot of the work with CAM and the different organizations and all the things behind the scenes. So we'll bring him in next week and talk about that as well. And you can find the repeats of this show, if you must, at the Talkin Money Facebook page.
Jeff, thanks for having me this week. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you for coming down. Appreciate it. I don't get down here very often. Now I know why.
Let's do it again.
This place is a dump. I know. Okay, we'll wrap it up. Hey, thanks for joining us very much. We'll get out. Did you get a winner of our book, Chris? No. Okay, well, then I'm going to hold the book to the next week. We'll give a book away next week. You can find me during the week at JeffTarbell.com, 338-9400, or on the Talkin Money Facebook page. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a great weekend and be cool.